The first question you would probably ask whenever you're transitioning a new career is how do you build a productive relationship with a new boss? Now, I came across this some takeaways from this book called First 90 Days by Michael Watkins that essentially gives you a structure framework for people transitioning into new roles. And how this book gives a lot of value is because it emphasizes the importance of establishing clear objectives, building relationships, and adapting to the new environment within the first 90 days. First thing is to prioritize consistent communication. That means taking the initiative to talk to your new boss and say that you like to schedule a more regular catch up, whether it's a weekly one on one or bi weekly one on one, or however you choose to structure that regular communication. Now, the reason why is it so important to actually prioritize communication and take the initiative instead of letting your boss actually schedule that cadence of that communication is because number one is to build trust and alignment. Number two is to getting a boss into a habit where they know what to expect from you and they that you cover your time in your schedule to ensure that if you need clarity about anything that's going on in the company, you are facing roadblocks when it comes to your tasks, how can you get support from your boss? And also, it's also a place for you to give regular updates about your progress, challenges, and also the priorities if it's changing throughout the week. So per se, how I would do it is that I use Google Calendar to actually schedule a regular one-on-one every week on a certain day, for example, Tuesday. How I would structure this one-on-one would be this is a tip I actually learned from previous colleague was that always talk about what are the things you need clarity on, what are the things you're facing roadblock with, meaning challenges you're facing that you need support. And this is a time where you can share with your team manager or your superiors that what are the steps are you taking to actually address this problem and what support do you need from them. And not only that, another game changer question in this weekly one on one is to ask yourself and perhaps also open this question to your boss to say, how can we improve our way of work? Now, asking this question on a regular basis helps you to think what are the things that you can do better at. That means you can cut down on certain inefficiencies, ineffectiveness, and that also gives your boss another one-on-one. The one-on-one becomes a two-way communication between your boss and yourself. That you're not only bringing things for your boss to help you with, but your boss is able to pinpoint what can you do better in, and it becomes a more efficient and effective way to actually work together as a team. Now, the next step I come across from this book is to proactively address challenges and offer solutions. Now, why should we bring challenges or issues upfront to our boss? It's also one thing is because you do not want your boss to be blindsided, especially when they heard it from somebody else or the problem got bigger and then they heard about it and then they're wondering why didn't you address it upfront with them so they can avoid being surprised, for example. This is where I think the weekly one-on-one, which I mentioned in the previous point, it's very helpful. And let's say if the problem is such a large one in your team or in your current role that you really, really need to address it, it's always good to just give the heads up to your boss, say to just tell them briefly what's this problem about, and okay, address also what are the things that you plan to do or the solutions you're trying to do, and then get them to then support you if you need any additional support. And the reason why you want to be proactive when it comes to addressing challenges is because it tells your bosses that you are a very proactive person. You don't wait until they ask you what's the status of a project or an issue, but instead you want to take the initiative to actually get things done, and also you're committed to solving the problem. And if you need any additional support, you'll be the first one to actually communicate with them. So I think per se for me is that increase the reliability of you yourself in your boss's eye, so that they will know that instead of them chasing you for an update, they know that you will give a timely update to them, and as when needed and as when you come across a problem, you will surface the problem with appropriate solutions and seek their support if you need any additional support. Now, the third step in this book is focus on key priorities. Or how I like to do it is that whenever I go to a weekly one-on-one with my boss, I will always list down what are the key agenda that needs to be discussed in the meeting itself. Bosses, I think, have limited amounts of time, and sometimes they are rushing with a lot of things that needs to be done, and also at the same time they still need to help their team and stuff like that. So how I do it is I focus on the three top most important urgent things that needs to be solved. So how I like to do it is I come prepared with a clear agenda on an Excel spreadsheet. So how I would do it every week is that I list down the date, did when the weekly one-on-ones happening, I list down the agenda, I number the priority of the items. So what are the top three things that I need to address right now in this meeting if I don't have enough time, or if I only allocated, say, 10 to 15 minutes? So my personal take is that this, whenever you're focused on the key priorities or know to distill the key points, that shows that you respect your boss's time, and that gets them into the habit of getting used to the way you run meetings and the way the run meetings that's efficient and productive. If you're able to get into the mindset of addressing like things very effectively in that sense, or top key priorities, then that also increases the confidence and also the trust between both parties as well. I've come to the end of the video, so these are the three tips I've learned from the book, The First 90 Days. If you have additional tips on how do you manage to have a productive relationship with your boss, please leave comments in the comment section below.